So it seems as though Bungie is doubling down with the direction they want to take Destiny 2. Today, Bungie released an article going over sandbox changes coming in Ash and Iron, and let's just say there's a lot of nerfs. So in this video, I'm going to be going over the changes, what I think about them, and where I think some of them are unnecessary, and maybe what could be reverted or changed, because we saw Bungie walked a couple of changes back with the last TWAB. So hopefully they can do a couple of walkbacks with this one. But yeah, let's get into the article. But quickly, before I do, my name is Donkey, and welcome back to another YouTube video. It's been a little over a week since my last YouTube video. I got a little busy at work, had a crazy work week, but the busy season's coming to an end, so I'll have a lot more time to make some more YouTube videos, so I'm happy to be back and into the swing of things. So really quickly, it goes over a couple things that aren't super important at the beginning. It's a lot of like PvP changes and PvP focused changes. So for example, the Forgiveness Trials sidearm is being nerfed specifically. So it's a lot of like PvP specific changes, so not super important to the PvE sandbox. The only exception is spread shot hand cannons are getting a 8% buff to PvE combatants, which is nice. Outside of that, you know, we'll see when we get further down. So Bungie's doing a rework to both Mida Multi-Tool and Sturm. It's mostly just a buff to the existing traits of these guns, and also giving a little bit more synergy when using these guns with their legendary counterparts like Mida Mini-Tool and the Drang. Overall, it's just mostly just in terms of PvE stuff, is just like making the guns feel a little better and doing a little bit of increased damage. But in terms of these changes, they're mostly buffs, so you can go through it yourself. I don't know if I'm going to be using these things, but we'll, you know, maybe it'll be good. Okay, so going down, we have the first nerf in a long series of nerfs, really. So starting with Graviton Spike, it's kind of making the gun a little bit harder to use in PvE for the purpose of bringing it down in PvP. So what they're doing is they're making it so in order to get the overcharged shots on the gun on both modes, both the arc and the stasis modes, they're reducing the time you have to gain those shots from 20 seconds to 7 seconds. And they're also nerfing temporal alignment, which I think is the best catalyst out of them all in terms of both PvE and PvP. I'm not quite sure. I haven't played around with Graviton Spike that much, but I know a lot of people really like the gun in PvE. Not the craziest change, it'll just make the gun a little bit more annoying to use, but that's, you know, we'll see how that plays out. So the first, I would say major nerf here is to Teraba. It's mostly just in regards to its synergy with Peacekeepers. So what they're doing is they're reducing the damage bonus with Teraba when Ravenous Beast is active and you're using Peacekeepers from 100% increased damage to 70% increased damage. They justify this by saying like it's an extreme damage outlier and that this top end combo needs to come down so that it can be a fair competition in raids and dungeons. And the thing that confuses me is like, I don't know if I'm out of the loop, okay? But I haven't seen anybody using Teraba and Peacekeepers in raid and dungeon content. I might be out of the loop, but I haven't seen that. And I think this is particularly because of the recent upsurge in like primary ammo weapon damage in Desert Perpetual. Just to skip ahead and do a little bit of spoiler here. In particularly, 3 guns have been used to do primary ammo damage in Desert Perpetual, being Outbreak, Perfected, Barrow Dyad, and Hierarchy of Needs. And this is mostly because of how much super energy it generates for you. Like when you shoot these guns at a boss, your super bar will go whoop, and you can spam a lot of supers during damage. And in particular, Barrow Dyad was being used with Peacekeepers on Titan because Barrow Dyad just does a really good amount of damage, but it would also generate your super energy really, really fast. I think they're preemptively nerfing Teraba so that Peacekeeper Titans aren't just going to automatically swap to Teraba to get their super back super fast and do a crazy amount of damage. Lord of Wolves, 20% damage nerf versus bosses. So Lord of Wolves in the past couple months has been within the damage meta, really good for close range damage encounters. I don't know if it's enough to really kill Lord of Wolves, but it is a very substantial nerf. People might not be hot swapping to Lord of Wolves anymore for damage. There might be another option people are load swapping to, maybe like Merciless or something, I don't know. So Lord of Wolves, we'll have to see, but potentially not as viable in endgame content anymore. And then Grand Overture, which is crazy, is catching a stray here, is being its reserves, its total reserves is being reduced to 48. So it's getting 10 less ammo in the mag. And they're saying this because they just want the gun to be used more as a burst damage setup weapon. You want to build up the stacks of the missiles and then launch them. That's what they want the gun to be about. But because it's really good without needing to pre-stack all your missiles, they just want to reduce the ammo, I guess. Which is crazy because like I feel like Grand Overture has only like almost never had a time its time in the sun after all the buffs it's gotten. The only time Grand Overture was like really good in endgame content was like contest mode Vesper's host, like for the final boss. That's like the only time it's been good. And then Queenbreaker, which is crazy to me, is also getting a significant nerf, reducing its damage against bosses by 10% and reducing its charge rate with combat sites by 15%. So this is pretty significant, and I feel like unnecessary because Queenbreaker isn't even in the damage meta at the moment. Like it was during episode Heresy, mostly because of the artifact mod. Particle reconstruction made your fusion rifles do like 40% increased damage or whatever. So like, of course it was really good in Heresy, but now that we don't have particle reconstruction anymore, like Queenbreaker is like good. It's a good like baseline damage weapon, but it's not like broken. So I don't know why they decided to take it down this significantly. And then this one's crazy. Thunderlord fixed an issue with Thunderlord Catalyst where it was refilling more ammo than intended. This has been in the game for 2 years. Like how long has Thunderlord's Catalyst been out? You know what I mean? And only now you're fixing this. It's like, it's obviously like it was probably intended, but they just want like a reason to nerf it, I guess. And then we do have some buffs too, some weapon perks, which are actually pretty significant. So things like Dragonfly, Cluster Bombs, Reservoir Burst, and Chill Clip are getting pretty significant buffs. Chain Reaction, you may look at this and say, oh, this looks really good, a 10% buff to the explosion. The removal of the plus 20 inventory stat is actually pretty significant because the inventory stat is actually the ammo generation stat. I don't know why they call it this. So you're going to be generating less ammo with your chain reaction guns, which is a little sucky, but whatever, I guess. I mean, the ammo generation economy is kind of doo-doo, and that's why a lot of people are using primary ammo weapons for damage because of how bad the ammo economy can be sometimes. Temporal Blast, this is also significant. No longer gains progress on splash damage, and it has reduced its damage by 66%. Temporal Blast is not very good, and it's not going to be very good on the crossbow anymore. So Titans are getting a rework to Strongholds, and it's a rework that ultimately amounts to a nerf. So what they are removing is they're no longer allowing you to infinitely hold your guard up. Your guard is going to gen just like how it normally is, and it no longer will give you restoration upon like consuming your perfect guard stacks. So what it's going to do now is it's when you charge your perfect guard and you hit something, it'll drain half of your perfect guard and it'll just heal you, whatever that means, right? So that could be that could be good, it could be a good heal, or it could be bad. I don't like, it says it heals you. It doesn't give any details. You're not going to be able to block as much and as well as before, and your healing is going to be worse. So it's ultimately a nerf to Strongholds, which is kind of sad because I feel like Strongholds is like, it's not even that good. Like it's good, but it's like, there's not very many instances in the game where it's worth using Strongholds. Like the one time Strongholds really shined was during like contest mode Crota's End, I feel like. But other than that, like I haven't used Strongholds at all. Hunters, Siderachne's Facade is getting a buff. You're not able to heal from it. That's good. Warlock, so we have a bit of some controversial changes. Chromatic Fire, I think, is ultimately a buff, but like I feel like this is a neutral change. Like they're increasing the detonation radius of the explosions you get from precision kinetic kills, and then it's also allowing you for non-precision kills to get explosions but at a reduced radius. But then they're removing the keyword effects for your subclass that you get from the explosion, so like you're no longer going to slow nearby enemies or whatever, which is, I mean, like, I don't know why they had to remove that. I feel like they could have kept that and it would have been fine. But I feel like this is because they're removing the subclass effects, it's neutral. It's a neutral change. Now it's Controverse Hold that really has the controversial change because it's arguably a nerf. So Controverse Holds has been in a really weird state ever since the Witch Queen came out, because it was like shadow nerfed or bugged for the longest time, because what would happen is Controverse Hold would not be regenerating as much energy as it used to for some reason after the Witch Queen came out. And so Bungie would say this is unintended and try to buff it, but nothing would change. So they would continually try to buff it and it would not fix the problem. And so this exotic has been immune to like fixes and bugs for the longest time. And what they're doing is like charge grenades apply weekend. That's good. That's a good change. But now what they're doing is they're tuning the amount of energy you gain based on your grenade type. And so the Vortex grenade, there's increasing the ability gain slightly, but it can no longer activate twice. And what this means is, you know, what you could do is if you had the fragment on your Void subclass that increased the duration of your Vortex grenade, it would allow the ability regen you get from Controverse Hold to activate twice. So you would throw it and deal damage with your Vortex. It would go up a little bit, and then after a certain amount of time, it would go up again. So you would get like double the regen on Vortex grenade. And this has been in the game since like forever. So they're now no longer allowing this to be the case. And so you're effectively going to get less Vortex grenade energy than you currently do right now. I would say it's effectively a nerf because people mostly use Vortex grenade with Controverse. Like, I don't really see people using handheld Supernova with it. It's like, I feel like most people use Verity with handheld Supernova. And then the only real important change here is Gambler's Dodge. You now need 100 stat and 100 melee stat in order to get your full grenade back when dodging on your own. But when you dodge near an enemy, it gives you double the amount. So let's say, so now with this change, you only need 50 melee stat in order to get your full melee charge back as long as you dodge nearby an enemy. And it can also allow you to get like both like if you have 2 charges of a melee, it can get you both melee charges if you are at 100 melee stat. Just to give my thoughts on this sandbox preview, I think some of these nerfs felt a little unnecessary. The Thunderlord nerf is a bit unnecessary. The Grand Overture nerf felt unnecessary, especially the Queenbreaker nerf felt unnecessary. Those changes are a little bit annoying because I feel like they didn't really need to be nerfed, and it's ultimately just nerfing things people find enjoyable that aren't really problematic, but are just like, Bungie doesn't want it. And you know, it's a little bit of a silly reason, I think, to put out those nerfs. There's just a lot of nerfs, you know, there's a lot of nerfs, not a lot of buffs, not a lot of bringing up underperforming weapons and underperforming exotics. But yeah, I think that's all for me, guys. You know, I'll be back with more videos soon, and hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Peace out.